Here on the ground, change happens fast. Problems feel frequent and urgent. It's loud and anxiety runs high. From a satellite view, the Earth looks the same as it did thousands of years ago. We've been here before. Let's learn from our past and shoot for a better future.
Hello and welcome to this week's episode of A Satellite View. I'm Todd Mikkelson, speaking at you now from Monday, May 26th, 2025 in the Space and Time Continuum. I recorded the show yesterday, and then I just thought I wasn't that good. I wasn't happy with it. I was too scattered, and the reason being there's just too many things going on. And again, it's to create chaos. It's to distract us. I was distracted from a lot of the things that I really wanted to talk about, a couple of the main points. And we got to be careful with that. Now, I do want to report to you things that you probably don't know if you're watching mainstream media. Mainstream media is going to be a focus of the second half of this show for reasons you'll find out. You'll also find out who I'm more pissed off at than I am at Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Or any of these other ghouls. A new addition to the ghoul family has been added. And we will reveal who that is in the second half of this show. Things that happened, looking at my list, the top of my list seems like it happened a month ago. And it happened on Tuesday. I started writing it on Tuesday. The list of things. For instance, Kristi Noem, the head of Homeland Security, doesn't know what habeas corpus means. She, as a matter of fact, revealed that she thinks it means the exact opposite from what it really means. And again, I'm not going to go into much detail on all these things, but that's something that happened early this week. Also, Donald Trump went off on Bruce Springsteen, calling him talentless, which is hilarious because I'm not a huge Springsteen fan. I had to live through the days when he was way overplayed on the radio. So he was actually annoying to me for most of my life. Talentless? No, he is not that. And I don't mind it. He's a great guy. I like him as a guy, not a huge listener to his music. I have seen some videos where it's like, wow, he's incredible at what he does. Definitely not talentless, but Donald Trump called him talentless. Now, Bruce Springsteen is kind of a hero to the working class people, a lot of which are maggots. So him going after Bruce Springsteen and calling him talentless and saying stuff like, and he's got atrophy of the skin or something. Is there something wrong with that guy? Really? Okay, that's one of the things on the you really want to go there list. So he's now talking about all of the people who performed at Kamala events. Again, still very focused on Kamala and Joe Biden. Why? Seems like he's pretty threatened by them still. Why? Interesting. So he wants an investigation of Kamala Harris, of Bruce Springsteen, of Oprah Winfrey, of John Bon Jovi, of Beyonce. I think there might be a couple more on that list. But yeah, he wants investigations on those people. And he's asking Pam Bondi for that. Now, Pam Bondi, another thing that's going on this week is the Jeffrey Epstein saga. Pam Bondi promised that she was going to release the Jeffrey Epstein files. She made that promise because all the right-wing people, including her, I think that it's going to implicate only Democrats. They think it's going to, it might actually implicate Bill Clinton. But Elon Musk has was hanging out with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, whatever her name is. But the thing is that she hasn't released them because once she really saw them, she saw that it was Donald Trump that was all over it. Donald Trump was his best friend. Jeffrey Epstein said, Donald Trump is my best friend. Donald Trump said he's a great guy and he likes women young like I like him. And that's why they're not releasing the files. So now the right wing is turning against Pam Bondi. And Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, I'm not going to go into who Dan Bongino is. He's a chucklehead and a half, but far right, MAGA guy, who's now second in command at the FBI, and Kash Patel is first in command at the FBI. Those guys were saying that Hillary Clinton killed Jeffrey Epstein. Now they were on a Fox News show together, sitting next to each other. It was really weird and creepy. Kash Patel refuses to work in Washington, D.C., so he's working like out of his house in Arizona or somewhere. And they're now saying, no, he definitely killed himself. It was suicide. He was probably the most guarded prisoner in the world at the time that he died. Jeffrey Epstein was in a very high security prison, being watched around the clock by cameras and guards. But the moment that he died, the cameras weren't working for that short period of time. The cameras didn't record anything. They were watching his cell and watching him, and they were malfunctioning maybe, or shut off when he, quote unquote, killed himself. And the guards, I guess, were sleepy. But he was under the watch of the Trump administration. I believe he died in 2019. And what's his name, was the Attorney General, Bill Barr. He was responsible for Jeffrey Epstein's safety. But no, Hillary Clinton killed him. That's what people like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino said for years. But now that they're the head of the FBI, they're like, oh, no. Now we looked at the files. He definitely committed suicide. Nobody got into that jail and killed him. Okay. So the right wing is pissed off at them. So now the MAGAs are getting pissed off at the main MAGAs. And it's delightful. I don't know if you knew those particular things. And again, why is Biden the main focus of this week? Now, he's no longer. It lasted a couple days. Why? We'll reveal that in the second half, because it's just all tied in to the main culprit in this big mess, this big taking down of America attempt, I should say. And also what happened early this week, Trump had to go to Capitol Hill to whip for votes. Now, here in Minnesota, we know how much of a chucklehead and horrible person Tom Emmer is. He's the guy who's supposed to be whipping votes in the House, but he apparently couldn't do his job, and Mike Johnson couldn't do his job, so Donald Trump had to go up on Capitol Hill, go into meetings with the people who were going to vote against the big, beautiful bill, and basically, have his usual, it'd be really terrible for something bad to happen to that beautiful daughter of yours. So he had those meetings. The vote went to the floor, and it did not pass. So who is this more humiliating for? Donald Trump, or the Speaker of the House, or Tom Emmer, the whip, or just generally the GOP? Who's most humiliated by that? Now, he did have more intense meetings where maybe he made even more threatening sort of threats. Eventually, it did pass the House, but it's not passing in the Senate. And there are at least a handful. There are enough senators saying, no, I'm not going to vote for that, for whatever reasons. Some of the reasons are bad. Some of the reasons are not that bad. But I don't know what's going to happen with that bill. I feel like it's going to end up passing. But that's something I don't have a strong feeling on. I can't tell you even how I feel about it. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. The people are standing strong right now, some of these GOP people, but that always happens and then they fold. So some people who did not fold, though, are some law firms actually standing up to the bully. I'm going to go through a little bit of Scott Dworkin. He puts out emails with some updates, and he's really good at covering things that you don't hear in the mainstream media. Now, we all heard about Joe Biden's cancer, not prognosis, his diagnosis. And I feel positive about his prognosis. I have heard some doctors say, this is manageable. It did spread to his bones, but both my father and my father-in-law had prostate cancer, and the treatment to make it go away was really mild and easy and successful. It's been a very treatable thing. It's very, very slow moving, which is why they do not recommend doing screenings for prostate cancer after the age of 70. Because even if you get prostate cancer when you're like 75 years old, you're probably going to die of something else because the prostate cancer moves that slowly. And of course, that's, the right wing trying to make this into a big, when did he know? Well, he probably didn't know until last Friday or maybe it was Wednesday, and he wanted to talk to his family before he made it known to maggots. So maybe he kept it a secret for 2 days, but they're saying he kept it a secret his entire presidency. We all know that's BS. So I'm going to start reading part of this Scott Dworkin report. Former President Joe Biden was seen entering Bradley International Airport in Hartford, Connecticut, where he said he was feeling great following his cancer diagnosis. There was a loud ovation from the stunned crowd of travelers, with many thanking Biden as he shook their hands. That's how America feels about Joe Biden. Protesters gathered outside Trump's D.C. area golf club Thursday night, yelling shame at the attendees of his ultra-corrupt meme coin get-together. Many of the 220 investors, quote-unquote, were loudly booed as they entered. That's how America feels about Donald Trump and his corruption. Democratic Senator Jeff Merkley addressed the crowd there. So he was at this on Thursday night. He said, "It is the crypto corruption club, and we're here to say hell no. Do we want the government to be sold to foreign influencers? Hell no." He also described the event as the Mount Everest of corruption. And he makes a good point. All it took was money from literally anywhere for them to get in front of Trump. That should never happen. The good news is the value of Trump's meme coin was actually dropped. It's dropped 20% almost since this dinner on Thursday night in the last 3 days. So it didn't help. And also reports from the ultra rich people who were there, who were expecting to have the ear of Donald Trump. Donald Trump didn't give them his ear at all. He came in a helicopter, landed, talked for something like 25 minutes, and then he left. Apparently he didn't even have dinner with the people, and apparently the dinner sucked. The food sucked, and all these rich assholes were nervous because security was really lax. And of course, they don't want to be recognized at this completely immoral, illegal event. One guy even had this bunny mask head thing that he wore in because he didn't want to be recognized going into it. Yeah, anyway, I could go on about how horrible that whole dinner was, but I'm not. Also, Friday, I think, or maybe Saturday, a demonstration was held against J.D. Vance outside his speaking event at the U.S. Naval Academy's graduation ceremony. Vance said nothing worth quoting, but attendees did, chanting, "Hey, hey, ho, ho, J.D. Vance has got to go." a group of fired federal workers staged a peaceful sit-in on the steps of the Capitol. Senator Elizabeth Warren stopped by to show her support, chatting with attendees and asking everyone what they did before being fired. Every single person held an essential position. Also, another thing that happened, Kamala Harris spoke in at a forum kind of event in Australia, and she talked about against Trump and Elon Musk without ever saying their names. Trying to see if there was some details about. Well, anyway, she said some of the things that she said during her campaign about, a strong leader doesn't strike people down; they lift people up. Talking against Trump, so she spoke for 40 minutes or something like that at this forum. She said many of the things that she said on her campaign trail, and she was given an extended standing ovation. Because that's how the world feels about Kamala Harris. Donald Trump is scared of Kamala Harris. Why? I thought you won. Donald Trump. Didn't you win? Did you win the election, Donald Trump? Why are you still thinking about Kamala Harris? Why are you still thinking about Joe Biden so much? By the way, there was a Danish guy. He's a father, has kids and a wife who are American citizens. He was coming into the United States for the final steps of becoming a citizen, and Donald Trump had him arrested. Maybe that's part of why European tourism to the United States is down 25% right now. Canadian tourism to the United States, all you got to do is walk across the border and be a tourist in the United States from Canada. Canadian tourism is down 50%. That's how the world feels about Donald Trump. Again, I've said it before. The world's on our side, and they know that we are against Donald Trump. They know the vast majority of Americans are against Donald Trump. They also know, like Romania proved, that Elon Musk used Starlink to change vote counts in Romania in the election they had at the end of 2024. So they canceled that election and re-held the election, and the good guy won, and the Russia-backed Trump candidate lost. Just like what happened in the last few weeks and months in other countries like Germany, France, as a matter of fact, Canada, Australia, a lot of other countries. Trump is uniting the world against fascism. I've said that many times before, and that is the good part of this. Anyway, gone a little bit over time. I want to take a break and come back and talk about really what I really wanted to talk about, a thing that we need to really pay attention to and think about, and a couple brand new things I just found out this morning that are pretty mind-blowing. I will talk about those things when we come back on A Satellite View.
Did you ask President Putin to meet with you?
About what?
About Ukraine.
And we're back on A Satellite View. Again, if you like the music you're hearing here, go to toddmikkelson.com, push the music button. Go to my Instagram and follow me on Instagram. Find our YouTube channel by going to YouTube and put in the search a Satellite View podcast, and you will find our YouTube channel where we're putting these shows up on video in their entirety. That, of course, let's hear it one more time. We got to hear it one more time.
Did you ask President Putin to meet with you?
About what?
About Ukraine.
That's Caitlin Collins, I believe is her name, from CNN, asking Donald Trump about the beginning of this week again when he got on a phone call with Vladimir Putin. And he's like, oh, what should we talk about, Vlad? They put me on the phone with you. I don't know what's going on. Anything new going on with you? What should we talk about? Oh, my God. Also, I just want to mention that his putting this 50% tariff on the EU because he got mad because, I don't know, they don't like him enough or something. By the way, he's already pulled back and said he's going to delay it. But a few days ago, he said he was going to put it on right away. Are the tariffs on? Are the tariffs off? I don't know. He wants everybody to build their factories in the United States. Now, factories use precision machinery and are the main place the United States gets precision machinery. Germany does a lot of precision machinery production and provide machinery for a lot of factories in the United States. But now if you want to build a factory in the United States, people are actually canceling. After he announced that, they were like, oh, we got to postpone because I can't afford to pay 50% more for the precision machinery that I need to build my... This is how much of a genius Donald Trump is. He's the best deal maker. Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, he just sabotages himself over and over again. Okay. Now, I want to talk about the main culprit. I think of the biggest culprit in this attempted takedown of the United States. A lot because the things I talk about on this show, you probably haven't heard. You got to really dig for it. You got to find different sources, oftentimes foreign news sources. But now there are some entities here in the United States like Midas Touch who gets more of a viewership than Fox News or CNN or anybody else. They're the top viewership right now. And there are other new news outlets that are beginning to climb up the chart as well. These are the places that I've been getting my information for a few years because CNN is worthless. CNN's main task of the week was to try and sell as many Jake Tapper books as possible. Jake Tapper is supposedly a journalist. He's a host on CNN, one of their biggest names, and he wrote a book about Joe Biden's cognitive issues while he was president. And he wants to sell books. Now, the reason CNN included, but also NBC, ABC, CBS, even MSNBC, and Fox News certainly, and those type of places, they are corporate owned. They want to make money. They don't care about getting you the news. They want to make money. There are some good shows, for instance, on MSNBC. Nicole Wallis' show, I think she does a pretty good job, although she still ignores a lot of stuff that's important. Lawrence O'Donnell is probably the best show on MSNBC. The first 15 minutes of his show are always a must-see, a must-watch. He does go into something, and he doesn't hold back. But still, they don't dig in. They don't find a lot of these stories like what you hear on this podcast and where I get my information from. That's how I bring you this stuff. And there's a couple stories I want to get to that are just mind-blowing to me that you're certainly not going to hear about on any mainstream news. And to me, they're extremely important. But Jake Tapper ruthlessly trying to sell his book on CNN. And then even on MSNBC, then Joe and Mika, if you don't know who they are, I'm not going to explain who they are, but it's a long story who they are. They had Jake Tapper on as a guest. Hey, what do you know about Joe Biden? First of all, if Jake Tapper is a journalist and he knew these things about Joe Biden, when did you find it out, Jake Tapper? You're trying to say, oh, what did Biden know and when did he know it? Those are questions we ask Nixon And Ronald Reagan about, his whole scandal, which was even worse than Watergate, the Iran-Contra scandal, and George Bush about illegally lying America into an illegal war. That's who you ask. You don't ask Joe Biden. And this is while Donald Trump he went out to West Point doing a speech, and he starts to, I don't even want to play you the clip, but he starts talking about some guy who was, I don't know, a realtor or something, and he got a trophy wife, and the trophy wife thing doesn't go well. It does not go well. But he got a trophy wife, and he wasn't very happy. And then he got a yacht, the biggest yacht anyone's ever seen. But then he got bored. I guess he got bored. And he's giving a speech at West Point on Memorial Day weekend. And then he starts talking about like campaign stuff. And he's wearing his stupid campaign hat at West Point. He did not shake the hands of the cadets. Every president goes to West Point, like Memorial Day, shakes all the cadets' hands. Presidents spend a couple hours there because that's the military. The president is potentially going to ask you to risk your life and become the people that we honor on Memorial Day by dying for your country. That's why the president goes and shows respect at West Point, shakes the hands of the cadets, sticks around instead of leaves early to go golfing, and gives a speech about respect to the cadets and the military. Donald Trump's doing that, and Jake Tapper's talking about Joe Biden having cognitive issues during his presidency, which we all witnessed he did not have. Yeah, he had a horrible performance at that one debate, but that was not cognitive issues. It's being really old and tired and having a bad cold. He was went to like 5 countries and then hurried back for the stupid debate. By the way, the debates are something that should not be happening. The debates are only happening in these presidential, modern day campaigns for the corporate-owned media because they make money during the debates. That's why they fight over who's going to have the debate, because they make money off the debates, and that's all it is. It's a charade. The debates are stupid as fuck. They're absolutely not necessary. As a matter of fact, they are anti-productive. Nobody learns anything new during the debates, the way the debates are held. They should not even have the debates. Barack Obama had a bad performance when he was president. You know why? Because he was president. He was being the president of the United States, as Joe Biden was. While Donald Trump could spend all of his time ranting and raving and being a buffoon and an idiot and I don't know if he ever gets good sleep, but he goes there and gets pumped up on whatever they pump him up on that's been keeping him halfway functional for the last few years. When that's, by the way, he's becoming immune to that. Joe Biden was being president. That's why he wasn't prepared for that debate. So, again, Jake Tapper is somebody I'm more pissed at than I am at Donald Trump or Elon Musk. Jake Tapper, so many things. I have suggestions for him to do that I'm not going to say. A lot of them are funny though, but vile. So I'm gonna steer clear of that. But Jake Tapper is talking about Joe Biden's bad performance on an unnecessary and anti-productive debate during his campaign, while Donald Trump is making a fool out of himself and everyone in every room he's in every hour of every day. Jake Tapper's not reporting on Donald Trump. Again, so many suggestions for Jake Tapper that I'm not going to mention what he can and should do. So, that was fun. The corporate media is the worst culprit. in this takedown of the United States, attempted takedown of the United States. It's not going to be successful. And these corporate media outlets are already flailing. I mean, their viewership's going down, while other places like Midas Touch is going up. They're becoming irrelevant. How are they going to make money now? You would think pretty soon they're going to start switching to, we can make more money if we report about how much of a buffoon Donald Trump is. Oh, but maybe he'll sue us. Fuck him. Sue him back. These law firms are suing him back and winning. There was a big win by a law firm. Some of the law firms are capitulating, and then they're losing some of their best people because their best lawyers are like, screw this, man. We're going to go start our own place. We're going to stand up to the bully. That's what you do to the bully. You stand up to him. And when some of these law firms do stand up to him, they always win. Like Kamala said, when we fight, we win. Let's keep fighting. Now, if you've heard this show before, earlier in this show, I talk about Elon Musk using Starlink to change the vote count in elections. Other countries have said that's what happened in their elections. Romania proved it enough by what their equivalent of their Supreme Court is, that they actually canceled their previous election and re-held it. You think that didn't happen in the United States? If you go deep down inside yourself, Kamala Harris won this election. And Donald Trump had no chance of winning. It was so obvious for so long. So, what's going to happen next? You've heard of Anonymous, the group of hackers. They don't screw around. They don't F around. They put out a teaser about a month ago that said, we are going to do something that is going to reveal some illegalities. And then they hacked into the website of the airplane company who's doing most of the illegal flights for deporting people illegally that Donald Trump's doing. They got everybody's name on all the flight manifestos. They got all of the illegally deported people's names and made them public and gave them to Congress. They put out a teaser that they were going to do something like that, and then they did it. And it was for the good. It was revealing illegal things that this administration is doing. Anonymous, 4 days ago, put out a teaser, and they said in 38 days, the revelation is going to be undeniable. It's going to be so overwhelming that everyone, you won't have to be convinced by us. The evidence will convince everyone, and nothing will feel normal ever again. Anonymous said they are going to make a reveal in 38 days. That clock is now down to 34 days. As near as I can figure, they're talking about July 1st. They gave a very specific and kind of weird timeline. 38 days, I have said for years that a conspiracy theory is not a conspiracy theory if the conspiracy really happened and is true. Conspiracy theories about John F. Kennedy's assassination were proven to actually be true by Congress in 1978, where a committee discovered after many hearings that there was a conspiracy. There were plans by multiple people about and how to and related to and planning for the assassination of John F. Kennedy. Again, this is something that everybody tries to cover up. Congress ruled that the JFK assassination was a conspiracy, meaning more than one person involved. And the least believable story is that Lee Harvey Oswald used a $30 rifle to successfully hit him 3 times in a shorter period of time than any FBI sharpshooter could put out 3 shots from that gun. That's the least believable story. Congress decided in 1978. But no, everyone says, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist. Well, Anonymous said, the term conspiracy theory will be dead and buried after this revelation. Because, and they said almost exactly the way that I've been saying for years, a conspiracy theory is no longer a theory when it's proven true. July 1st. Okay? That's something that nobody in the mainstream media, corporate media is going to report on. I don't even know if Midas touched it, but I found it. Somebody that I know who does alternative news, Kyle Kozlinski, I think is his name. He did a feature on it. That's how I found it out. It was really hard to find the footage that happened in Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump is with MBS, the prince who killed the Washington Post reporter years ago. But he's the prince of Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump wants to be his friend. Just yesterday, Donald Trump went way against Putin, saying he's crazy. I don't know what's wrong with him. He's crazy. He's killing people, and I don't like it. All of a sudden talking against Vladimir Putin as though his allegiance is no longer with Russia, but now it's with Saudi Arabia. There's a shot. It was on live TV. Very hard to find. I found it in 2 places. One of them is a foreign news outlet. Another one is a young woman who analyzed this video footage on a TikTok thing that she was doing. Trump is with MBS in the Royal Palace, whatever. And all of a sudden, Trump's old friend, Jerry Inzarello, the Rillo. Hey, Jerry, haven't seen you for a long time. They've known each other apparently since the 1980s. Jerry Inzarello shows up. He's trying to build a city in Saudi Arabia or something. So he's tied in with the royal family. He's not on any lists that were released of all the people at all the meetings that Trump did in Saudi Arabia. The Hill had a thorough list of everybody who spoke with Donald Trump on that trip. This guy's not on the list. Jerry Inzerillo. There is actually an Inzerillo mafia in Sicily. You can find it on Wikipedia. Inzerillo. You can look that up and find it in Wikipedia. There is an Inzerillo mafia family in Sicily. I don't know if Jerry's part of it, but Inzerillo is kind of a unique name. Anyway, hey, Jerry, Inzerillo, you're here. What are you doing here? Inzerillo comes up to Trump and pulls some papers out of his suit pocket and unfolds them. And they're clearly printed photos, nothing but printed photos. They're not printed like Word documents. They're just it looks like 4 or 5 pages that looks like you just put a normal piece of printer paper through your home printer and printed out a photograph. And each page had a kind of a large print of a photograph. He starts showing them to Trump. He starts kind of laughing a little bit. Trump looks really uncomfortable and scared and nervous, but he looks like he's trying to hold it together. Because this is on live TV. There's cameras rolling. About maybe 2 or 3 minutes unfold where the Inzerillo is looking at MBS and they kind of laugh at each other. And then there's one part where they get to one of the photos and Trump looks at it and the other 2 guys look at it and then they look at Trump and they're no longer laughing. They're looking like, what do you think of that? That's not good for you. Trump folds that one and puts it in his coat. Kind of sneakily, like, I'm going to keep this one. But of course, Jerry Inzerillo, he's got another copy of it. But Trump is probably too stupid to realize. You can briefly see one of the photographs, and it looks very much like a picture of Donald Trump from a long time ago. A much younger Donald Trump, and he's with some other people. And he does not look happy about these pictures. And then it keeps rolling. Inzarello shows Trump this model of a building that's part of the thing he's building, and then he disappears. And Trump keeps talking to people, but he's not talking to them. He's just kind of looking at the floor, looking very uncomfortable as other people are now trying to interact with him. I saw this footage just this morning, and it's mind-blowing. It looks like blackmail unfolding on live TV. You can find it. Let's see if I can do this. Okay, if you go to Shofia, Shhofia, it's like Sophia with 2 H's. Shofia, Shhofia, on TikTok. And she entitles, I don't use TikTok. But anyway, if you go find her on TikTok, you might be able to find this footage. It's pretty mind-blowing. That, coupled up with him turning on Putin, and then what Anonymous is saying. What is going to be the big reveal, Anonymous? They say it's going to change everything. I've been saying something's going to happen to change everything. And now Anonymous, and I've been thinking, what are these guys going to do? Are they going to be part of this? It looks like they are, which makes sense, because how does Kamala Harris and Joe Biden announce that Donald Trump stole the election by having Elon Musk use Starlink to change? You know, go back and listen to some of my shows. I go into detail about what happened with Starlink right before the election. Also happened in Romania right before the election, their election, which happened pretty close to ours. Anyway, things are getting real, man. Things are getting real. Now, change is hard and scary. I don't know what's going to happen with these tariffs. I don't know if there's going to be supply chain issues. I don't know if we're going to run out of produce and stores. I've already reported last week that my nephew is having trouble in his business because some things that he needs is stuck on a ship down in Houston because they won't release it because they don't know who's supposed to pay the tariffs or if there are tariffs or what. He's already feeling some pain because of this. So things could get worse before they get better. But I'm telling you, things are going to get better. This is not going to stand this time. You can see it all over the world. The world is fighting against fascism. And that's going to come here to the United States. Again, that was Donald Trump's whole role, is to be the global villain, showing us what's wrong with our institutions. We're going to build back better. We're going to get rid of this BS because it's illegitimate. And that may be a conspiracy theory at the moment. But conspiracy theories stop being theories once they're proven true. I feel very strongly that that is going to occur. In the meantime, we're all in this together. Everybody's in this with us. Bruce Springsteen is in this same mess with us. So is John Bon Jovi and Oprah and Kamala and Joe Biden. And I got so many great performances, great jobs being done by so many Democratic elected officials in committee hearings. And Jasmine Crockett kicked ass this morning or yesterday morning. It's on Sunday morning shows saying things like Donald Trump is cognitively unable to handle this job. We already know he's criminally disqualified from being in this job, but we're seeing with his speech at West Point, and now he did another one, I guess, this morning at Arlington Cemetery. He's also cognitively unfit for the job. A lot of stuff revealed on this show. I'm glad I redid it. First of all, these last couple things I didn't even know yesterday, so I'm glad I was able to report these things to you. Again, so until the big reveal happens in 34 days, let's stick together and help each other get through this. I'm here for you. Thank you for being here, listening to this show. You help me out a lot. You keep me mentally sane by doing this show and having you listen. It helps me out a lot mentally. It really does. And I hope this show helps you out. So let's all stick together. Take care of yourself. Live your life. Don't wait. Don't sit on a chair and wait for 34 days to see what Anonymous is going to reveal. Okay? We need to play our guitars, play our pianos, watch movies, watch funny movies, watch intense movies, whatever you like to do with your life. Hang out with people you want to hang out with. Be with the people you love and like, and laugh with them. Go see some shows, music or otherwise. Live your life. Take care of yourself. Remember, that's why they say in airplane safety, put your oxygen mask on yourself before you put it on your child. Because obviously, if you faint from lack of oxygen, you can't help your child anyway. So you gotta take care of yourself first. Make sure you do that. And then let's gather together and help each other get through this, because we are all in this together. And when we fight back, we win. Thank you so much for listening to this show this week. I will speak at you next week.
You've been listening to A Satellite View with Todd Mikkelson. Go to toddmikkelson.com for links and more information.